so until we get conscious of the original the original abandonment, we hold it, we start to understand it, we bring it to conscious awareness through the body and through work, we will likely do whatever we can to avoid it and ironically repeat it.
Hi, I'm Veronica Cisneros, licensed marriage and family therapist, entrepreneur, and host of the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. I was 1 month away from divorce. The court papers were filed. We had just had our first daughter, and I felt more alone than ever. My husband told me he was tired of competing with my career. I was overwhelmed, disconnected from my family, and questioning everything I had built. I didn't want to lose my marriage, but I also didn't want to keep losing myself. So I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I stopped pointing fingers and started doing the work on me. Now, after 25 plus years of marriage, raising 3 daughters, and running a thriving therapy practice, I'm here to help you do the same. This podcast is for the woman who looks like she has it all together, but secretly feels like she's falling apart. We're talking real marriage struggles, parenting teens, rebuilding trust, reclaiming identity, and finally feeling like you again. Pull up a seat. You don't have to figure it out alone. This is Empowered and Unapologetic. Have you ever felt like no matter how much effort you pour into your relationship, you still don't feel safe? Like your body tenses when your partner pulls away, or you panic when you get too close, and you can't explain why. It's not because you're broken. It's because somewhere deep inside, your nervous system is still bracing for abandonment. And today, we're unpacking exactly why that happens and how you finally can feel secure in love. Hey friend, it's Veronica Cisneros, and welcome back to Empowered and Unapologetic, where we talk about what it really takes to thrive as a woman, balancing marriage, motherhood, and her career. If you ever found yourself questioning why relationships can feel so hard, even when you've done the therapy, read the books, and tried to communicate better, this episode is for you. We're diving deep into emotional wiring that shapes the way you connect, love, and even push people away. Because healing isn't about fixing yourself. It's about understanding why you react the way you do and learning how to feel safe again from the inside out. My guest today, Jessica, knows exactly what it's like to search for safety in love. She's a licensed psychotherapist, certified addiction specialist, and founder of the Relationship Institute of Palm Beach. Jessica has devoted her career to helping women understand trauma, attachment, and the visible patterns that keep us stuck in cycles of disconnection. She's the author of the best-selling book, Anxiously Attached, Becoming More Secure in Life and Love. And she's on a mission to help women stop abandoning themselves and start creating relationships that actually feel safe. Trust me, you're going to want to learn all the ways in which you can go ahead and develop true change. So this episode's promise is by the end of this conversation, you'll learn how early attachment patterns shape the way you experience love and safety, why abandonment wounds keep showing up no matter how hard you try to change, and how to start building earned security even if you never had it growing up. This one's about understanding your emotional blueprint and finally rewriting it. So please help me by welcoming Jessica. Hey, Jessica.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So all of us definitely need to have a paper and pen in hand to take notes. So we're going to dive right in. Jessica, you've spent years studying attachment and emotional safety. Can you start by explaining why some of us never fully feel safe in our closest relationships?
Yeah, I mean it's a big question, and my new book, Safe, an attachment informed guide to building secure relationship, dives into this so deeply. But I will do like the layman or like the faster version. But when we are born, we're right hemisphere creatures, and we are taking in the quality of our connections, the quality of our primary connections right from the get go. And so we're sensing into how safe it is. And if our parents are struggling with their own implicit wounds or their own attachment wounds or stress, and they're not able to be emotionally present enough of the time, we internalize them. So whether they're
Mm-hmm.
anxious or they're a little avoidant, we're constantly internalizing the people that are close to us, and we're internalizing our original environment. And if there wasn't enough safety, and I can get into the science of safety because it's literally the topic of the book. But if there wasn't enough connection and safety in those early experiences, we walk around with an internalized parents of that are more anxious. We might feel more abandoned. We might feel
Yeah.
unsafe in the world because we didn't internalize enough safety as a youngster. And so we'll develop more insecure types of attaching and attachment patterns. And there's three insecure types. And it takes a little bit of work to move from insecure attachments to earn security.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. You talk about how early attachment patterns form in childhood. Can you walk us through how those early experiences shape the way we love as adults?
Yeah, I mean, so when we're a baby, we need food and water, but we need connection just as much to survive. We cannot
Yep.
survive without connection. In fact, the connection from our primary caregivers, them lending their nervous system, them being there for us, is still helping develop the quality of our organs, the quality of our nervous system. We don't come out fully developed.
Yeah.
So we're very vulnerable in the beginning of our life to what is going on for our primary caregiver. And so to break it down, someone with more of an anxious, and we develop many patterns, but an anxious mom or preoccupied mom is a mom who's there sometimes energetically and emotionally, and at other times her stress or dysregulation or anxiety takes her out from being present. So the infant and the baby learns to self abandon. So I'm going to energetically leave my body and regulate my mother. And they become very focused on the environment to survive and stay in connection. So that child, the pattern is I can take care of others to get close. I can people please to get close. I can do all these things because that's what they learned very early on. And it really does start at really early stages. On the other end is avoidant attachment. And a true avoidant attachment, the parent is living a lot in their left hemisphere, which means they're not connecting at all really emotionally, but they're there. They're taking care of your physical needs. It's important that they teach you how to do things. They're more task oriented, but the child doesn't learn that they're emotionally connected, so don't build a lot of the wiring, and they end up um, becoming more self-sufficient and more independent. So it's interesting because anxious tend to run towards people for help and reach
Yeah.
out and have a lot of fear, and avoidant people in love tend to shut down and retreat. And in my first book and my second book, I talk about the anxious avoidant dance, which so many people get stuck in. And then there's a third type, which the world refers to as fearful, but the scientific word is actually called disorganized. And that
Mm-hmm.
is an infant that has a parent who's not safe. Either they're really angry or really dysregulated or completely checked out and
Yeah.
neglectful. So the baby doesn't know where to orient to. And because we need connection, they get stuck in a state of, I need you, but I'm scared. And
Yeah.
later on, people can develop this by feeling like I really want connection, but it's really hard to move towards connection, and they can get stuck. And I would say the primary fear there is like a feeling of terror around connection. So we embed so many different patterns. How we connect in early infancy and childhood impacts our nervous system. It helps us figure out what feels safe and not safe, depending on our earliest experiences. And then those things usually get reactivated in our close relationships when we're adults, which is what the book really helps do, is like look at the early wheel of attachment and then put it on your current relationships right now so that you can get more conscious of where you're reenacting some of these same familiar patterns.
Mm-hmm. You just totally, like with the first one and the third one, you just totally like described my childhood. like 1,000%. Totally.
And
Like that
I love that
fear.
you say that, because like I
Yeah.
have something called the wheel of attachment in the in safe that is uniquely different. And with one parent, you can have security, you can have anxiety, and you can have disorganization. You can have
Yeah.
different experiences with the same parent. You can have different experiences within the same household. So it's very the book really goes into the nuances of attachment rather than just like fitting into one label. You start to understand it on a more holistic level.
Yeah, I totally need this book here in the office because we like just I work with a lot of couples, I work with a lot of women, and like just kind of seeing like my upbringing and having to do my own personal work on what that looked like. And like even when you were saying with my mom was so busy, meeting the needs of my dad was a heroin addict, an alcoholic, and a hardcore gang member. And so want like yearning for that love, and I noticed my identity was wrapped around what I can do for her to make her feel better so that she then can go ahead and, provide my brother and sister, and myself with what we needed, the compassion, that level of nurturing. And for my dad, like we always knew we were safe, right? Like, because he's a gang member, like we always knew we were safe, but also because he's a gang member, like we're not safe. Like we knew my
Right.
dad would take care of anybody that would harm us, and at the same time, my dad was extremely explosive. And so I resonate so much with like just that I love how you coined it too. Instead of it being fearful, it's more of disorganized. Because yeah, kind of watching dad with like he'd have so much anger and didn't know how to self-regulate. And so watching that, it was like, okay, well, I obviously love this man and I'm scared shitless by him too. Like we can't get too close, right? And I found like my first year of marriage, my first 4 years of marriage, it was a lot of like, it was a lot of just uncertainty and not knowing what to do with this love that he was giving me. And I found myself pushing it away and very, very fearful of like just accepting it. So I would like create so many arguments in the beginning, like all the time. And I've shared already, but we were 1 month away from divorce. I mean, obviously he had shit to do with it too, but like there was just so many things going on that I didn't quite understand. And I never witnessed a healthy relationship. And so for me, it was like, well, this shit's going to blow up. So let me go ahead and light it on, be the first one to light it on fire. So I love like this right here is so important for all of us to learn.
For sure. I mean, yeah. And I think if you're used to chaos in your childhood home or you're used to neglect, I talk a lot about in this book that like we attract what we know, it's our familiar.
Yeah.
And so we will pull in people that resonate usually with their familiar and relive some of that. And you maybe picked someone who was more secure, but your familiar was chaos. So you're like, I'm going to create the chaos because that's what feels right, because
Hmm.
that's what my system is used to. So, yeah, it's so complicated and nuanced and complex. But I think understanding the original dynamics and the felt sense in the body. So a lot of the book is about healing attachment wounds by developing interoception and going into our body and holding the
Yes.
memories, the original memories. So it's very much about holding that kind of stuff, and it's a somatic journey just as much as it is, oh my God, I'm putting these pieces logically
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. A lot of moms listening grew up feeling unseen or emotionally responsible for others. How does that kind of upbringing affect how they show up in their marriages today?
Yeah, I mean, so it's common for women too in our culture to be like the givers. And like I said, more of an anxious attachment is I'm going to lose myself. I'm going to self abandon and I'm going to figure out what you need, right? Veronica, I'm going to
Hmm.
figure out what you need because that's how I stay in connection. I could tell you right now what my dog needs, right? Like I'm wired to understand what other people need. That's what makes us a great therapist, right? But also figuring out what we need and speaking from that place could be the opposite of what we're used to. And it can be very scary to shift that dynamic and learn how to ask for our needs and be the receiving person of
Yeah.
love and attention and all that, because that's not what our familiar is. So mostly we go into dynamics with people and we do the things that we know, and our body and our system expects the things that we have had. So if we grew up like kind of self-sacrificing, we will probably start relationship dynamics in that way, because that's how we know how to get connection. So it takes a
Yep.
little bit of work to be with the parts of you that, like, what happens in your body when you don't people please, what happens in your body when you don't extend, what happens in
Hmm.
your body when you say no. So it's about learning to be with the parts of yourself that are scared to lose connection,
Hmm.
essentially. People pleasing or self abandonment also comes from a fear of losing connection. So, and which is a
Yeah.
very real fear. So it's
Yeah.
about really unpacking that kind of stuff with an anchor or with someone who really understands it, and starting to pay attention as to what your patterns are.
Hmm. Nothing breaks my heart more than watching women pour into everyone else and feel like they've completely lost themselves in the process. That's why I have founded Outside the Norm Counseling, because therapy shouldn't feel like one more thing on your to-do list. It should feel like relief. I'm Veronica Cisneros, licensed marriage and family therapist and host of the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. And I know what it's like to look around at your life and think, why does everything feel fine, but feel so off? At Outside the Norm Counseling, we help women who are high functioning on the outside, but silently falling apart inside. Women who are waking up overwhelmed, snapping at the people they love, and carrying guilt that never seems to lift. And if you're not ready for therapy, that's okay. Let's start small. With my self-paced course, Reignite Your Marriage and Reclaim Your Identity. This is for you, not your husband. Because when you reconnect with yourself, everything else begins to shift. Head to OutsideTheNormCounseling.com to start. Remember, you don't have to keep holding it all together. You just have to take the first step. This sounds a lot like internal family systems, IFS as well, like really developing and identifying like what is the part that's coming up, identifying the fear associated with it, and bringing back to self. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that SAFE is a combination of interpersonal neurobiology, and my mentor Bonnie Badenoch helped me. She wrote Heart of Trauma, and IFS. And I would say for the differences is that we go in and we meet those parts with you. So your anchor, and I talk about your anchor in there, is like you don't just meet your parts alone. We actually feel more accompanied when we go in, but it's very, very much a lot of this is influenced by both
Mm-hmm.
interpersonal neurobiology and IFS. And the book itself is therapeutic. And I want people to buy it and bring it to their therapist or bring it to their anchors so
Hell
they can
yeah.
start that kind of work. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. You've said that abandonment is the core wound underneath most insecure attachment styles. How does that wound play out in our day to day relationships?
Oh my God, it can play out so many different ways.
She's like, let me count the ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, anxious people tend to have a conscious awareness of abandonment, so they'll try to keep their partners close.
Mm-hmm.
Avoidant people tend to not be conscious of it, so they'll tend to avoid it because underneath they're scared of intimacy and getting scared of abandonment. But it's like flipped upside down. Disorganized people are constantly scared. They're constantly in a terror. If I get too close, that's scary. If I pull too far away, that's scary. They never find a place of true safety. And I would say that, really when I wrote the book and I did the research, so many people in our culture um, have emotional neglect in their
Mm-hmm.
childhood, but are
Yeah.
unaware that they have emotional neglect because they haven't
Yeah.
been
Because
in
it's
a
the norm.
relationship that
Yeah.
they
This is
don't
what's
understand it
normal for us.
until
Mm-mm.
yeah, until you get into a relationship. And I talk about finding your anchors that are it's emotionally attuned and present and has a neuroception of safety. We don't realize what we didn't get until we start to receive it. So a lot of the abandonment that is really, really prevalent in our culture, and it's really sad. It's like why we're living in so much isolation is that the emotional abandonment's actually like kind of a legacy, and it's being passed
Yeah.
down over and over. And brave people who start to do the work and start to feel into what they didn't get can break that intergenerational patterns. But it is work. It is work, and very
So much
brave
work.
people do it. And there's a lot of freedom on the other side of it, but it does mean getting in touch with a lot of what we didn't receive.
Yeah, I love that you point that out. A good amount of us don't even realize this is probably something that wasn't healthy. This is probably something that most people don't experience. I don't think I realized that until I started in my practicum. And I remember sitting in, I was doing my training in a hospital, a partial hospitalization program, and I remember here I am with this fancy badge that can get me into all of these locked doors, and our patients are pouring their heart out, and I'm listening to my supervisor help this individual process through, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't normal. Like, you didn't have SWAT team come over for dinner at your house? Like, that's that they didn't come over for dinner with you guys? Like, what? So I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that, because a good amount of us don't know.
Well, and what is normal? Because it's also
Yeah.
relative. What was normal for you was not normal for me. And I think we get to a place in our life where if we get the right support, like safe holding and the right help, we start to make sense of what we went through. And it was our normal. But how is
Yeah.
our normal impacting the way we behave and who we choose and what we're gravitated today and our emotional regulation and all of that?
Bingo. Bingo. For someone who keeps ending up in the same kind of painful dynamic, what are the signs that they're actually reenacting an old abandonment wound?
Yeah, I mean, there's this line in my book like if you don't heal your abandonment wound, it's going to show up, and it's just I actually go through a bunch of different wounds and the belief systems attached. Um, and for anyone who has a wound that is implicit and lives in the body, we grow up as adults. It's there, and we're constantly looking to prove what our body believes to be true. So we will confirm, oh my God, look, he doesn't like me. Oh my God, look, he's going to leave me. Oh my God, this, that. Like I have experienced people leaving me. This is an example of, and I'm going to project that into my relationship. I'm scared of that happening again. And ironically, I pick people whose trauma is when they get activated is to flee. So I'm
Yeah.
repeating these patterns over and over. And so until we get conscious of the original left, the original abandonment. We hold it. We start to understand it. We bring it to conscious awareness through the body and through work. We will likely do whatever we can to avoid it and ironically repeat it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, not even knowing we're repeating it. Can you give us some examples of wounds?
Yeah, like I'm not good enough, I will always be left, any verbiage, and there's like 20 in my book, or there's a whole list that carries a charge. And if you're listening and you keep getting to this place of like shame or here I am again, that is a wound that actually probably has much deeper roots and needs to be unpacked, discovered. And once we can make the deeper connection and get co-regulation and attunement around it, we can move the wound that's charged. We can develop a capacity to understand its original origin, and we move it actually from the body up into the right hemisphere, and it gets integrated into the left. So very much in my book Safe, I talk about the science of healing, because I don't want you to just have the information. I want you to understand that there's actually the
Yeah.
neuroscience that explains how healing really happens. So I think it's really important as you're doing this work. It grounded me when I was doing my own work. I was like, oh, at least I
Yeah.
have the science, even though this is really hard. I understand healing now, so I can have that as some reassurance as I'm moving through my own work and building more secure relationships, because that's all we all want. That we all want to
Mhm.
feel secure inside, and we want to have nice secure relationships in our life that make us feel fulfilled and loved and cared for.
Yep. What would you say is the first step to stop replaying the same story, especially for women who keep choosing emotionally unavailable partners or shutting down when conflict comes up?
And I think that sometimes the listener might not want to hear this, but I can I'm in the same bracket, but I attracted emotionally unavailable partners, but I didn't realize how emotionally unavailable I really was. And
Yep.
so just because I am in touch with my emotions doesn't mean that I had the capacity to be with these parts of me and connect to me in such a deep level and heal, because now I'm so more emotionally available. And so emotional unavailability, it could be your familiar. It's actually safer. I know that sounds weird. Safer is not the right word, because safety, it's the illusion of safety, because it's
There
what
you
you
go.
know. And when
Yep.
someone is unavailable, they're not going to be vulnerable with you. And if you don't have to be
Mm-mm.
vulnerable, you don't have to go into your wounds or your intimacy, so we gravitate towards what we know. We get frustrated when they're emotionally unavailable, but if an emotionally available person comes up and you haven't done the work, it's going to also feel really awkward to your system. And I talked a lot about that and how that's really important, is to meet people who are really available to do your healing work. And it doesn't have to be a romantic partner, but it can be. I walk through both of those. But that if you're keep attracting the unavailable, there's something in you that needs to find an available person and start to sit with that and have your nervous system start to, it's basically like you're retraining your nervous system to,
Yeah.
like, if Veronica, if you were my new anchor, and I talk about anchors in the book, and I was used to unavailable and chaotic people, and I'm sitting with you and you're present and you're holding a neuroception of safety and you're attuning to me, I might never have gotten that my whole life. It might feel awkward in my nervous
Yeah.
system. It might be really hard for me to receive. Then I'm going to, do the work that we unpack. And clients are like, wow, now I have to get vulnerable. And so what we're doing is we're going to say, I'm going to meet with Veronica enough, and I'm going to have more people like Veronica who are emotionally present and safe, so much that my nervous system starts to internalize you, starts to expect this consistent, warm, non-judgmental care as something that I can be received. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually you become my new baseline. And this is how we earn security, is I
Yeah.
will internalize Veronica as my therapist. I will internalize the friends who are showing up in this way enough. So I re-internalize people. And that's how we move. We start to get a sense of inner security, but we can't heal it without healing relationships or without secure relationships.
Yeah. Very, very, very well explained. I love that. You use the term earned security, which I love. Can you explain what that means and what it looks like in real life?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was exactly what I was just talking about. It's like saying that,
Yeah.
okay, if I had a mom who was anxious, I did, and a dad who was really, my dad really suffered with being present at all due to substance abuse. But like, I've internalized now an anxious mom and a pretty absent father, right? So I got a big abandonment wound, right? So what happens later in life is I've picked romantic partners that literally repeated, like, my,
The
had
same.
substance abuse issues, right? Like, so later in life, as I chose to heal and I write the neurosciences, I started going to people to do my work and to hold space and connect to, that were different, that were emotionally
Mhm.
present and capable for showing up for me. And I started to find, it just took
Yeah.
one relationship for my nervous system to start to change the trajectory of all my relationships. So it started with one relationship. I started to do some work and I internalized that relationship, and my nervous system start to recognize what is safe, what really is safe. And I can be in the presence of really safe people. I also attract more safe, more secure people. So it's a reorienting to people who are emotionally present and letting your nervous system re-experience that, but also through mirror neurons and resonance circuits. And again, I geek out on the science. We do actually internalize each other. So Veronica, if you were my therapist, or if you were one of my anchors and you were a really good friend of mine and you showed up warm and consistent for me enough, you become part of me. What a secure baby does is they can
Yeah.
feel like their parents are with them even when they're not with them. So we can redo that as adults. We can find people and we can internalize them and we can feel them with us even when they're not with us. And that takes a little bit of time, but that's actually essentially what earned security starts to look like or feel like. And I
Mhm.
and free for your viewers in the link that I provided, is a talk between my mentor and I, who's brilliant, talking about what it feels like inside the body as you move from insecurity to security, which I think is a really cool 40-minute talk that you get if you purchase the book and you use the link that's provided.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We're going to have the link in the show notes. For the woman who's listening and thinks, I've never felt secure with anyone, where do I even start? What would you say that first step looks like?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how many people come to me and say that. And they also say, I don't have one safe person in my life.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a
Yeah,
lot.
I mean, and I like in the book, I talk about inner and outer anchors, and I talk about, was there an animal? Was there a place?
Yep.
Was there something that you can resource, right? It's about resourcing. And maybe in this conversation, I start to become the first safe person for them, right?
Yep.
Sometimes if you go through the Rolodex, there are people who are available. Sometimes there's little gems in there. Or if you go through your life, maybe it was a teacher, because,
Yeah.
or, and so we really explore if that was really there. And if it wasn't there, then we have to start right where we are, and we should start to cultivate, what does a safe relationship feel like in your body? So we have to start there right away. But usually people can resource. Like I had a grandmother, I was very lucky, who was more security than anything else. But usually we can resource something from our childhood. If not, we start to look for anchors now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And finally, for the mom who's scared she's passing her attachment wounds on to her kids, what can she start doing today to create a different pattern for the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, so there's something called rupture and repair, and we can always repair with our kids later on. But the more work you do
Yep.
on your little girl and healing, I don't want to be gender specific, but healing him or her inside, or that little, the more you inner work you do for holding these parts and cultivating the capacity for that, the more you're able to do that for others. It's very
Yes.
beautiful healing, because it's very mirroring. So as I heal, I mean, and I'm able to do it more for my clients because I've been able to do it more for myself. So it all kind of mirrors each other. So I always tell parents, one, it's never too late to repair. And that means, yeah, owning that, like, maybe it was more difficult for you and validating your child's emotional experience. Two, the more that you're able to hold more of your parts and go there, the more you're able to show up for them differently. So I
Mm-hmm.
just, give yourself a break. I also want to say for parents, like, most parents are doing the best that they can with what they received. And so we can't
Yep.
give our kids something that we didn't receive ourselves. That's why
Mm-hmm.
we have to start to receive it, internalize it, and then we
Yeah.
can give it. So you're really doing the best you could from your parents, and if you do some work, you'll be able to give more, and none of that is your fault.
Mm-hmm. Well said. What I love most about this conversation is that it reminds us we don't need to be fixed. We just need to feel safe. So many of us out here trying to be better, to communicate perfectly, to keep everyone happy. But underneath it all, what we're really craving is safety. Safety in our relationships, safety in our skin. Healing starts the moment you stop blaming yourself for your reactions and start getting curious about where they come from. When you begin to see your patterns not as proof that you're broken, but as messages from the parts of you that still need love. That's how we begin to build, earn security, not by perfection, but by compassion, by learning to show up for ourselves the way no one else ever could. Can you please, for those, because I already know everybody on here wants to work with you, Jessica, can you please help us find you on social media? Where can we buy your book?
Yeah. So Safe, an attachment informed guide to building more secure relationships, is like basically everywhere. You can go right on Amazon and get it. I run a group practice called the Conscious Relationship Group, which is a international coaching group where there's a lot of therapists on my team that work with healing attachment wounds. I'm on Instagram at Jessica Baum, LMHC. If you buy my book and it resonates or whatever, just reach out to me. I do my best to personally connect with everyone that reaches out. I've been saying that a lot. I try to handle it, but it's important to me. I mean, I do this work, I create these books to help you. And it means a lot to me when readers reach back out to me. So you can find me on Instagram. I do have a team of people if attachment wounds are something you want to start healing. And yeah, I feel bad for anybody else named Jessica Baum on the internet, because you can literally put my name in and Safe will come up, and Anxiously Attached will come up as well. A very good seller that came out 3 years ago.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait to get my hands on this book, bring it into the practice, and really, really help those in need. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. And, I actually hope that clinicians pick up this book the most. So it really means a lot to
Yeah.
me that you're saying that, because I really think it's a great companion for the work. So I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate this conversation.
Raise your hand if you are ready to level up your marriage for 2023. Do you find that you're spending your time together with your husband checked out and in front of the TV? I know you're ready for tangible strategies that actually get you results. Reignite the spark in your marriage, have fun, and grow together. Well, I hope you have your hand raised at this minute, because I have something special for you. I'm introducing my brand new 6-question marriage predictor quiz that's gonna give you personalized results to catapult you into the next stage of your marriage journey. That means you'll receive the results to where your marriage can get the best help. If you've got just 1 minute, head to veronicacisneros.org/quiz. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, and you can take my brand new quiz, Marriage Predictor. Get your results delivered right to your email address. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, veronicacisneros.org/quiz. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.